Hello everybody, I'm Upgraded Rotom, aka Coach of the San Diego Pachirisus, and welcome to week 2 of the TBL. This week we face off against our opponent, the Rome Empoleons, and their coach, Aaron. And the Rome Empoleons have a crazy lineup, with crazy offensive threats like Palafin and Ogerpon, and some nice defensive walls with Scizor, Zapdos, and even Archaludon. This definitely won't be an easy battle, but I believe I've built a team that can help us achieve a victory. So without further ado, let me introduce you. First on the lineup, we've got our Okidogi here, and this week Okidogi is running the EV spread of Max HP, Max Attack with 4 Special Defense, the Adamant Nature, the moves Drain Punch, Gunk Shot, High Horsepower, and Fire Fang, with the item being its Assault Vest, and its Terra type being Dragon. Now this set is designed in order to really just try and spread Toxic Chain if possible, and take hits where possible. Our natural typing should allow us to be pretty good switch-ins into stuff like their Alolan Muck, their Probopass, and potentially even their Scizor or Ogerpon, while our Assault Vest will allow us to take hits from their Special Mon like Uxie, Zapdos, and Archaludon just a little bit better. Drain Punch is there in order to hit their Steel types like Probopass and Archaludon for some super effective damage, while also giving ourselves a little bit of recovery since we can't really do much with the Assault Vest. Gunk Shot is there in order to give ourselves a pretty nice stab option, and to add on to even more of a chance to poison our opponent. High Horsepower allows us to hit their Muck for super effective damage if we find ourselves in a 1v1 against that, while Fire Fang does the same for our opponent's Scizor. I found Terra Dragon to be pretty useful, as I found it to be really tandem to go against a lot of what they might try to throw at me. Terra Dragon still allows us to resist the Ogerpon's Ivy Cudgel. It allows us to kind of completely wall Zapdos thanks to our Assault Vest, as we'll resist the electric moves and just be really strong against the flying type ones. Palafin's Jet Punch will be weaker against us if we're Terra Dragon, and if they try to go for an Electro Shot on their Archaludon, then it also allows us to be resistant to that as well. Ultimately, Okidogi here is here to try and take some hits and spread some poison. After Okidogi, we have our Goodra here, and Goodra this week is rocking the EV spread of Max HP, 4 Defense, and Max Special Defense, with the Bold Nature, the moves Acid Armor, Body Press, Ice Beam, and Flamethrower, with the Shell Armor as its ability, and the Leftovers as its item. What I realized looking into my opponent's team is a lot of their real threats against me are physical attackers, and if they're not, then Goodra matches up really well against their special attacks. So what this allows me to do is pretty nicely set up an Acid Armor onto a lot of my opponent's Pokemon, which will then, in turn, increase our damage with Body Press. For the Pokemon that will find themselves having an easier time facing off against the Body Press, we have Ice Beam for their Zapdos and Flamethrower for their Scizor. Everything else we're decently good into a matchup with. There are a few Pokemon that we do need to be wary of having fighting type moves, but as long as we switch into Zapdos or like Uxie, then we should be pretty solid in order to do those setting up. Then after Goodra, we have the debut of our Galvantula here, and Galvantula is going to be rocking the EV spread of 64 HP, max special attack, and 192 speed, with the Timid Nature, the moves Sticky Web, Thunder, Giga Drain, and Volt Switch, with the Compound Eyes as its ability and the Focus Sash as its item, and this is one of our Terra captains, and so I decided to go for Terra Electric this week. With our EV spread here, we should be able to outspeed everything that is a Zapdos that's not invested and slower. My opponent only has one ground type on their team, and that is Gastrodon. However, Gastrodon does not like having to deal with grass type moves, such as Giga Drain. So what I see this is as a really solid lead. The Galvantula's set here is pretty simple. I'm running Sticky Webs this week, as I really do like the idea of making all of my opponent's Pokemon that can touch the ground slower. And on top of that, their only hazard removal is Defog from Scizor, which, if they don't even bring that, then that means these Sticky Webs are going to go crazy for me. Thunder is there, as with our Compound Eyes ability, we'll be able to hit it more often than we normally would have without it. And a lot of my opponent's team is not really wanting to take a Thunder and get the potential para chance. There are a few exceptions, such as Gastrodon, but Gastrodon, as an example, does not really like the idea of dealing with a Giga Drain. And lastly, we have Volt Switch there in order to give ourselves some pivot potential. Like I mentioned, this has the Focus Sash, so I do want it to be our designated lead. I'm expecting them to either lead their Palafin or their Gastrodon, maybe even their Ogerpon. But all of those opponents don't really like having to deal with Galvantula here, as Ogerpon may believe that we do have a Bug-type move. Palafin does not want to stay in against our Electric-type moves, and Giga Drain will do a lot to their Gastrodon, like I mentioned. So yeah, like I said, I feel like it's a pretty solid lead. It allows us to get our Sticky Webs up guaranteed and then hit off some damage from whatever we find ourselves in against. With Terra Electric, we will be doing a lot to any of our opponent's Pokemon that aren't terribly special defensive. One of the things I wanted to note is we will be doing half of Zapdos' HP if we are Terra Electric as an example. However, I only really plan on using Terra Galvantula if I do not find the opportunity to Terra any of my other captains. After Galvantula, we have our tried and true Talonflame here, and Talonflame is rocking a pretty simple set this week. This week, Talonflame is rocking the EV spread of 4 HP, max attack, and max speed, with the adamant nature, the moves Will-O-Wisp, Terra Blast, Brave Bird, and Temper Flare, with the heavy duty boots as its item, and the flame body as its ability. And its Terra type is Grass. This set should allow us to outspeed everything on my opponent's team that isn't a Scarfer per se, and the heavy duty boots will allow us to not have to worry about rocks if they end up bringing stealth rocks. I decided to go Flame Body this week as I'm really hoping to get some burns on their physical attackers, as that would really help me in the long run of this battle. If you haven't noticed already, my opponent does have a lot of decent physical attackers. Their Ogerpon is a physical attacker, their Scizor is a physical attacker, their Palafin physical attack, Muck physical attack, and even stuff like Probopass and Archaludon have decent chances of being physical attackers due to having body press potential. So therein lies why I'm bringing Flame Body over Gale Wings instead. Will-O-Wisp is there in order to potentially get in a switch in onto one of those physical attackers and burn those instead of having to just rely on our Flame Body alone. With Terra Blast, if we find ourselves without Galvantula's Giga Drain and in the opportunity, we can go ahead and hit their Gastrodon for super effective damage without having to worry about any like Rocky Helmet set, because it won't be a contact move. This still allows us to as well resist the Ogerpon and their Palafin as well. Brave Bird is there in order to hit that Ogerpon for super effective damage, as it's really only there for the Ogerpon, quite honestly. And Temper Flare is to kind of work in tandem with our Flame Body and our Will-O-Wisp, or even the Toxic Chains from our Okidogi. As if we go for a Will-O-Wisp and it fails, then Temper Flare will be doing double the damage next turn. Otherwise, it's just a solid attack to have, as it's a physical fire-type move that does not give us recoil. After that, we have our Samurott here, and Samurott is rocking a pretty interesting EV spread with 200 HP, max attack, 24 defense, and 28 special defense with 4 speed. It has the adamant nature, the moves Ceaseless Edge, Sacred Sword, Flip Turn, and Knockoff, with the Choice Scarf as its item and the Sharpness as its ability. With this set here, I really wanted to just kind of get the most I could out of Ceaseless Edge. Like I said, my opponent doesn't really have a lot of hazard removal, so if I can hit anything on my opponent's side for Ceaseless Edge, then we're going to be setting up our spikes, and it'll be harder for them to want to switch out, especially with those sticky webs up. With our Choice Scarf as well, we're going to be able to outspeed any of my opponent's Choice Scarfers once our webs are up, and we'll be able to hit their Uxie for some nice super effective damage, as long as they haven't terastallized yet. Otherwise, it hits a lot of my opponent's Pokemon for some solid neutrals. Sacred Sword is here in order to hit any Iron Defense or Stamina boost Pokemon for some super effective damage, and allow ourselves not to let them get too out of control. Flip Turn is there as if we find ourselves in a position we don't really want to be in, we can get out of there pretty nicely. And lastly, Knockoff is there to remove some items, as if possible, it would always be nice to remove items when I can. And lastly, we have the debut of our Urshifu Rapid Strike here. Urshifu is rocking the EV spread of 16 HP, max attack, 240 speed, with the Jolly Nature, the moves Surging Strikes, Trailblaze, Close Combat, and Ice Punch, with the Punching Glove as its item. With this set here, we'll be able to do some nice damage into a lot of my opponent's Pokemon. While the webs are up, we should be able to outspeed everything on my opponent's team. And if they're not, we do outspeed everything that is Uxie and slower. With our Surging Strikes always critting, we don't really need to worry about any Iron Defense sets from their Probopass. Their Archaludon would still resist it, but that's why we also have Close Combat, as that is a move that'll threaten that Archaludon out. Trailblaze is there, as if we find ourselves against the Gastrodon that's trying to use Storm Drain against us, we can go ahead and hit it for super effective damage while also increasing our own speed. And lastly, Ice Punch is there in order to deal with the Zapdos and the Ogerpon. The reason we're running Punching Glove this week is it will boost our Surging Strikes and our Ice Punch, which ideally we find using against their Zapdos. One of the properties of these Punching Gloves is that our punching moves don't make contact anymore, so we wouldn't have to worry about static propping and paralyzing us if we go for one of these punching moves against their Zapdos. Other than that, Urshifu is designed to try and potentially be the late game sweeper. And that's going to do it for this week's team. I hope you enjoyed this little breakdown, and I will see you guys in the battle. Coolio, and we are here for week 2. Let us see what they brought. Okay, no Probopass. I'm very glad that's not here, as I realized in hindsight it was kind of strong into me. But everything else is kind of what I expected. A little surprised no Muck, but ooh, I just realized no Scizor. That means we're getting our webs up and they are staying. So all of our hazards are great, and I think we're good to just go ahead and do that. Yeah? Yeah. And then... yeah, there's not really an issue with leading that. Okay. I want to double check what Thunder does to Yuxi, just out of my own curiosity. Let's say you're bulky as heck. So with no defense, Thunder's doing about 30-ish%. And then with special defense, does more like 27-ish. Okay, that's not terrible. It gives us chip. Probably should just Volt Switch on that though. I am curious what its Terra type is. Ooh, I love this map. Palafin, yeah. Okay, so we're pretty solid. Just go ahead and lead with our webs here. As I'm expecting them to probably just flip turn or just completely exit out of here. So we'll get our webs up. Now, I will have to remember that that will give the Ogerpon a Defiant boost throughout the entire battle now. But that also means that we should outspeed it with everything on our team if it's not Scarfed. Okay, cool. So they send out Zapdos. I'm fine with that. So now we have webs up, and I'm just going to Volt Switch into our Goodra. It is not that specially bulky. So this might be a little bit more of an offensive set. But Goodra should be able to take whatever it wants to throw at me. Ooh, a U-turn! Okay, that's pretty solid. If they go back into Ogerpon, then we definitely switch out. But what do you go into? Gastrodon, maybe? I don't really see you going into Gastrodon, but maybe. Palafin, maybe. Yeah, Palafin. Okay. So, Choice Band is gonna kill me if it's got its... if it has Choice Band. I don't really want to deal with that right now. I think it's solid to just go back into Galvantula. We still have our choice intact. I am curious on how much it is doing to us, for my own sake. Open Hero with Choice Band. Close Combat does about 70%, but if it's Choice Band, we know, and so I think that should be fine. Galvantula did what it needed to. Substitute, okay. That's cool. I'm just gonna go ahead and get a Thunder off. If you want to start setting up with Bulk Up, I still have my stash intact. Interesting. Okay, I don't think that's banned then. Jet Punch without a band is doing what it told me to. Okay. Do I want to keep this around for anything? I don't think I need to. Yeah, I don't need to. I'll go ahead and get off a Volt Switch if they do decide to switch out. Yeah, they don't. Okay. So Galvantula is down, it did its job. But that being said, Urshifu might not be terrible to come in here. Into a Palafin Hero. If it doesn't have Choice Band, then it really doesn't do too much to me. I'm gonna check with Close Combat real quick. Actually, it could do a lot. Okay. Instead, we're gonna go ahead and get our Talonflame in. And we're gonna go Terra Grass. Yeah. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Terra Grass Will-O-Wisp is honestly what I'm feeling. Let me double check the calc. Something without choice band. With Terra Grass up. Yeah, without choice band, that's not doing too much to us. So we're gonna go ahead and Willow. I'm fine with that. Now, out of my own curiosity, what is Talifan doing to Goodra without the choice band? Do we miss it? Dang, it really do be missing all of this week. Everyone in the week 2 has been missing their Will-O-Wisps a lot. With close combat, what is this thing doing? Talifan doing to Goodra? It would do a lot. Okay. So this thing's free to Hurricane and or set up the Volt Switch again. I'm fine to just go back into you. The main thing that I don't like is that if I do try to get up a defense boost here. Actually. No, because it definitely could kill me. Is there an issue with going back into Talonflame here? I want to try and preserve Talonflame for that Gastrodon at this point. And then, what is Body Press doing with nothing? It's doing 19 to 25. Okay. We'll go into Talonflame here. Yeah? Yeah. Because then we can at least hit it with the Terra Grass. Terra Blast. And we'll find out if it has Ice Punch. I didn't check what Ice Punch is doing to me, but it probably does a decent amount. Oh, Ice Punch will be 62% chance to kill, so we'll find out if that's what they're doing. The crit mattered to kill the substitute, totally. Drain Punch, okay. Can we get the burn? We don't proc the burn. I'm still fine to Willow this. And it's good to know it's Drain Punch, because that probably means it does not have close combat for our Goodra. So I'm just gonna check that. Drain Punch would do about 62-ish% to us if we're at +2. That still does a lot, wow. We're not at +2. Oh, I was not checking the right calc. A +2, it does about 30% to us. Okay. So I don't dislike the idea of trying to set up now. Because it shouldn't be able to crit us. And no matter what, it will not be able to KO us with our leftovers. So I might be banking a bit here. Let's go ahead and get up an acid armor. And switch things up a bit. So it did about half to us, which is honestly the lowest roll it probably could have gotten. And I'm fine going with another one. Because otherwise our Caledon just switches in. Ogre Pawn can switch in, but we should be able to deal with that if we have our +4 up. Yuxi, okay. You're gonna try and encore me, right? Okay, so we go into Samurott here. Because I don't want to be encored. And then we can go ahead and Ceaseless Edge here pretty nicely. We'll see what Terra type it is, if they do decide to Terra. Terra Fairy, probably. Yeah, Terra Fairy. Okay. That means Okidogi can come in and hit it pretty nicely. Ooh, Calm Mind. So Urshifu will be able to outspeed this, but I don't think we'll be able to do too much back to it. With that Calm Mind up, how much is... Did I screw myself here? There's a potential chance I screwed myself here. What's my out? Because Gudra can't really take too much. I can maybe go for Ice Beams, hoping for freezes, but that also just lets it set up still. You're not going to be able to outspeed. I might need to go into Talonflame and Brave Bird after I get a bit of chip onto this. I think that's my play. Rather, let me double check what Brave Bird does to this. Because it looks pretty physically defensive. Brave Bird's only doing like 30-ish% to it, so that's not too great. Urshifu, what are you doing with your move? Surging Strikes does about half. So that might be our play here. Whittle this down enough to get Urshifu to be able to KO it. And then I don't think this thing has recovery. shouldn't off of my memory. Draining Kiss. I'm stupid. Okay. So unfortunately, we're not getting it to that low point that I thought we would be able to get it to. I genuinely forgot about Draining Kiss. Okay, so you need to go down, Samurott. Sorry. Gudra versus Yuzu. I just want to check on that. That's plus 3 and 3. With Terra Fairy. We can't do much to it, but it also... Yeah, I can recover back from whatever we do at it. It's definitely got a Psychic type move. We gotta go for Urshifu here and get as much damage as possible. Or do we go Brave Bird? Give it as little HP back as possible? I think we got a Brave Bird. We'll see how much we can do to it here. Not quite enough. Does it burn itself? Because that would cancel out the... Ah, so it just got back all the health we took from it. Okay, it does cancel out the leftovers. I totally forgot about Draining Kiss. So Urshifu cannot KO this thing. And I'm 90% sure Okidogi is going down. I gotta try it though, right? We'll see. Oh yeah, if it's going down. Okay. What do I do here? I test. See, do you have a Psychic type move? You miss! Hold on. Hold on. All's not lost. That was big. That was huge. Actually huge. Okay. So out comes Zapdos. I feel like you just U-turn still. But Zapdos doesn't know we are... How much is Okidogi doing to Zapdos here? Gunk Shot does about half of its HP. Hurricane is doing about a lot of ours. And Urshifu, I don't know if you can clean it up, quite honestly. Let's go for the dunk on the U-turn potential. Discharge, okay. So we can take that a lot better. Okay. We're not quite out of this yet. Who do you send in? Ogrepon, maybe? Ogrepon might have high horsepower. If they don't... Okay, Gastrodon. So now we go Urshifu, right? Out comes Urshifu, and we're gonna go for the Trailblaze. Because we don't need to worry about static anymore. with its defenses raised, +1. We're doing about 40-ish% to it with Trailblaze. Ogrepon? Or Caledon? Okay. Or Caledon. With 1+1 boost. Takes this extremely well. Goodra might be our switch in here. Right. Right. Yeah, Goodra's our switch in here. I'm gonna make sure I'm not doing +2. So we'll find out if they're a body press set or not, because that's what I want to learn. Thunder Wave. Okay. That still can be pretty rough for us. But all they have left are physical attackers, right? Gastrodon, not really. Let's go ahead and try for an Acid Armor. Ooh, Sword Stance. That's cool. That's really cool. This is a physical Arcaladon? Hold on. So what, you're gonna Dragon Tail me or something? Earthquake. Okay, we're at +4 now. Let's put Earthquake on here. Let's put max attack. Let's say your max attack. I didn't see how much that did. Max attack should do about 37% max with +4. Let's say you're also adamant. Should be doing 41%. I don't think that's adamant. We'll get to max, if possible. Ooh, that actually might be adamant. I should have just body pressed. Yikes. I definitely should have just body pressed. Whoops. I got too into the calc. Okay. I got too into the calc. So, I do think we need Urshifu to be able to clean this up here. We'll go ahead and Drain Punch with Okidogi to try and keep ourselves alive for as long as possible. We'll get more stab, right? We'll do more. What does more? Peladon. +1 defense. Our Drain Punch is still doing more. Ooh, okay. Nice berry, nice Chople. So with a +2 in defense, how well does it take our close combat? It takes it extremely well. I think that's game. Especially if it gets +3 in defense, geez. Okay. Maybe I can get a burn with Fire Fang. We'll see if we can get a burn. Nope. Okay. Urshifu, what are you thinking from +2 Sword Stance? Earthquake. You're taking half. Close combat is only doing 31% right now. And then, what's it called? On top of that, will be -1 defense. So let me double check that actually. We'll be taking 70%. Yeah, that's the play I gotta make, unfortunately. And I think Palatine can clean up after the fact. Yeah, I kind of screwed myself over there hitting acid armor again. I should have paid more attention to the health drop as that was happening. Can I get a crit? Not a crit. But definitely did more than I was expecting. So maybe I should have just switched into Urshifu. They do miss the Thunder Wave. I cannot for the life of me go for... Surging Strike's doing more at this point. You're at 10%. And +4. Yeah, Surging Strike should KO. While also not letting me get less damage done to me. And then into Ogre Pond. Does Ice Punch kill? Ice Punch doesn't kill, unfortunately. And it will be +2, so it will kill us. Unless they're not defensive. No, that is with no defensive. So, unfortunately, they will kill us. Actually, with spikes up, I have 4 layers of spikes. 3 layers of spikes. Guaranteed 2-hit KO with spikes up. RIP. There is a chance we can get a high roll for Ice Punch. So I think we have to hope for the high roll. But also if this is Scarf, then I think we still lose, since I don't have a +1. So we'll go for the Ice Punch. Freeze? No freeze. Bullet Seed. Loaded dice? Is this loaded dice? Because wait, that's sick if it is. I have no idea, but I'm curious now. But thank you for the wonderful game. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I know I did. I definitely, again, made a mistake with clicking Acid Armor. But we had a crazy time. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.